Hello and welcome to The Deep Dive, your shortcut to key insights from important sources.
Great to be here.
Today, we're digging into the latest in health and consumer news, pulling from a recent health and consumer magazine, Jours Santé Conso.
That's right. We've gone through it to pull out the really interesting bits for you.
Exactly. Think of this as your quick briefing. On the agenda today, we've got some fascinating stuff. How AI might really change stroke rehabilitation for you or people you know. We'll also touch on maybe why women hear differently, perhaps better than men.
Well, that sounds intriguing.
Updates on pandemic preparedness, which is always relevant, and believe it or not, some surprising facts about washing your household linens.
Right down to the essentials.
So stick around, we're jumping right in to get you informed.
Absolutely. And this magazine really packed a lot in. Let's maybe start with that Canadian research you mentioned, the AI and stroke recovery.
Yeah, let's do that. It's quite something.
Yeah.
Researchers from Simon Fraser University, they worked with over 50 stroke survivors.
Yep.
And they equipped them with these small body sensors. Think of them like super precise movement trackers.
Right. Capturing all the data on how they move.
Exactly. And then the really clever part, an AI system analyzes all that data. It looks for patterns, identifies anomalies.
Anomalies like imbalance, right? Within really short time frames, like 3-second sequences.
Precisely. The AI can spot subtle signs of instability that might predict a fall.
And the goal is personalized prevention. So the tech may be integrated into a wearable, like a watch.
Yeah, that's the idea.
It could alert the person, hey, you seem unsteady, maybe sit down.
Exactly that. The AI learns what's a risky movement pattern specifically for that individual. It's very tailored.
And the potential applications go beyond stroke, don't they? I think the article mentioned vertigo.
Vertigo, yeah, and even spinal cord injuries.
Wow.
It ties into that whole push for personalized medicine treatments adapted just for you.
And it's a huge help for healthcare professionals, too. This study published in Clinical Rehabilitation.
Right, clinical journal.
It highlighted how this AI analysis gives doctors much better data to tailor those rehab plans, makes them more precise.
Having objective movement data must be incredibly valuable for planning recovery.
Definitely. Of course, the next steps are crucial, looking at long-term effectiveness, testing it on a more diverse group of patients. It's still early days in some ways.
Still very promising. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Maybe a more personal topic for some listeners. Using Botox for overactive bladder.
Ah, yes. The magazine covered this too. It affects, what, up to 16% of people? That urgent, hard-to-control need to urinate.
That's a significant number. And the article explains Botox injections are an option, but for specific cases.
Right. The idea basically is that the Botox reduces those bladder spasms by acting on the nerve signals causing them, calms things down.
And they estimate the effectiveness at around 65%, which is, pretty good for those affected.
It is, but it's not a permanent fix. The effects usually last about 6 to 9 months. You'd need repeat treatments.
And importantly, there are potential side effects. Things like difficulty emptying the bladder completely and, though rare, more serious complications.
Which just underscores the need to really discuss any procedure, even seemingly simple ones, thoroughly with your doctor, always.
Good point. Now, on a much broader scale, let's talk about global pandemic preparedness. The magazine highlighted that WHO agreement.
Yes, a pretty big deal after, 3 years of negotiations. They've reached an agreement text to be presented at the World Health Assembly in May.
So what's the core of it?
Well, a key part is setting up a system for sharing pathogens, the viruses, bacteria, and the related health products. Think vaccines, tests, treatments.
Trying to avoid the issues we saw during COVID-19.
Exactly. The aim is really to tackle those inequalities, improve access, especially for developing countries that struggle to get hold of vaccines and tests early on.
A move towards better global health equity, hopefully. Okay, let's bring it back home, quite literally. Washing household linens. Everyone does it differently, right?
Yeah, the article pointed that out. Some people wash sheets rarely. Others are maybe weekly or even more often. Big variation.
So what do the medical folks recommend?
The standard advice is bed sheets every 1 to 2 weeks, towels weekly, and washcloths or face towels ideally daily.
Seems sensible from a hygiene perspective.
Definitely. Though the article also notes factors like your climate, personal habits, how much laundry you actually generate, these can all play a role in how often you need to wash things. It's not strictly one size fits all.
Right. Use the recommendations as a baseline. Good advice. Now, something definitely positive for our well-being, physical activity and the brain.
Oh yeah, this was based on a huge study, analyzed data from over 258,000 participants, massive scale.
And what did it confirm?
Well, it drew on results from over 2,700 clinical trials. And the conclusion is pretty clear. Physical activity boosts brain function, things like memory, concentration, cognitive skills.
In both kids and adults.
Yes, across the board. And it doesn't have to be strenuous. Simple activities like walking, yoga, even dancing showed benefits.
That's the really encouraging part, isn't it? You don't need to be a marathon runner.
Not at all. They suggest around 150 minutes per week, that's just 2.5 hours, even at low intensity, can make a positive difference.
And were there specific areas that saw the biggest improvements?
The study noted particularly significant results for general cognition, just overall thinking ability, and executive functions. That's things like planning, organizing.
Okay.
And these boosts were especially noticeable in young people and also individuals with ADHD. It really highlights how important movement is for brain health at every age.
Good reminder for all of us to get moving a bit more. Okay, let's talk nutrients, magnesium specifically. The magazine mentioned many adults don't get enough.
That's right. And it's crucial, involved in over 300 bodily functions. So the article flags some good fruit sources.
Which one stood out?
Some perhaps less common ones like prickly pear, dried figs, even durian, passion fruit too.
Durian. Interesting. Any more familiar options?
Oh yes, avocado, bananas, blackberries, they all contribute magnesium as well. So plenty of ways to boost your intake through fruit.
Good to know. Variety is key. Now, something a bit concerning, perhaps food additives. There was a French study mentioned.
Yes, from the Jours Santé cohort study, it raised a potential link between certain mixtures of food additives and an increased risk of type 2 diabetes.
Mixtures. So not just one additive, but combinations.
Exactly. These combinations are often found in things like broths, sauces, sodas, dairy desserts, common processed foods.
And the researchers talked about a cocktail effect.
Right. That's the concern. Individual additives are tested for safety, but how they interact when consumed together in your diet is much less understood. This study suggests we need more research into those combined effects.
Definitely food for thought when looking at ingredient lists.
Okay.
Now, for that intriguing finding about hearing, women potentially hearing better than men.
Yes. This was quite a surprise, published in Nature just last month, apparently. A big 5-year study involving scientists from 13 countries.
Wow. And what did they find?
They looked at hearing in 450 people aged 18 to 55, considering genetics and environment. And the key result? On average, women perceive sounds as being more intense across the whole hearing range.
More intense. How much more?
According to one of the researchers, Patricia Balaresque from CNRS, it averages about 2 decibels louder for women.
2 decibels. Doesn't sound like a lot, but does it have implications?
Well, this study suggests it might. This heightened sensitivity could potentially make women more susceptible to stress, fatigue, or other issues linked to sensory overstimulation. The idea that, quote, women are overstimulated by sound.
Huh. That's unexpected. Do they know why there's this difference?
They're exploring potential causes. Hormonal factors are one possibility, like maybe differences in prenatal exposure to androgens, male hormones. But it's important to say that's not definitively proven yet. More research needed there, too.
Fascinating area.
But the immediate takeaway highlighted in the study is the importance of noise prevention, especially perhaps for women and children, given this potentially greater sensitivity.
Makes sense. Okay, one last quick point before we wrap up. The magazine touched on social media and sports fans in Morocco.
Yeah, specifically the intense engagement with the national football team, the Lions à l'Atlas, online. It goes way beyond just match days.
How so?
Well, their official Instagram account apparently reflects this huge passion. Lots of virtual applause, but also some pretty strong criticism. It's a real hub for fan emotion.
Impatient fans, maybe.
Sometimes, yes. A communication consultant analyzed it, noting how important strategic communication is for the team to manage that bond with supporters in this really dynamic online space. The account reaches over 1 million people a month.
Shows the power of social media in modern sports fandom, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's a key part of the experience now for fans and teams alike.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive into recent health and consumer news. We've covered quite a range.
We certainly have, from AI revolutionizing rehab
to the surprising nuances of hearing differences, the ongoing work on pandemic readiness, and even tips for your laundry.
I think what stands out is how research, whether it's high-tech AI or large-scale population studies, keeps uncovering new insights about our health, our bodies, and even our daily habits.
It really does. And looking ahead, thinking about all this, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What do you think will be the next major health transformations driven by technology or our growing understanding of biology?
It's a big question.
One for our listeners to ponder, perhaps. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you.
We'll catch you next time for another exploration.